budget cubes, basically the cheap cubes you can get out there in the market. So are they any good? Should you buy them? Let's know on today's video. Basically, I think most of the cube companies out there first try to make a good budget, because most of the cases good budget cubes actually become cubes out there in the market. Because if a new company just comes and make a $70 cube and say, hey, take our cube, all the cubers would be like,
wait a minute, who are you?
I think most of the cube companies out there don't put as much care on their budget cubes, right? Because they just think that this budget cubes are something which are pretty cheap in price and we're not gonna put any care. I think only two companies put some care on their budget cubes, and they are Moyu and Yushin. These cube companies actually try to make really good cubes, which you can say as flagship killers, but nowadays I don't see people to use this term that much. Yushin Magic, is this a flagship killer? Anyways, back in 2017, cubes like $4 to $5 were called the budget cubes. There are some type of cubes which are like kind of good, okay? So this cube, this turns good, okay? This is one of those cubes which is actually could be called a good budget cube at that time. But most of the cubes were like this. They were just cranky, and you cannot say them as to be as good as you might think all the other flagship cubes would be. And maybe using budget cubes could be a reason why you cannot get good times. But now these things have changed. You can get one of the best cubes out there in the market. If you buy a cube for $6 and you spend your rest of the budget buying some great loops, the cube can be awesomely awesome and greatly great. I cannot say how good the cube can be turned. So it seems like budget cubes are really good, so what's the point of not buying them, and what's the point of buying some pretty expensive cubes, right? So let's see what is the problem of these budget cubes under the sunlight. So here's I have some of the cheapest cubes out there in the market. These are probably one of the budgetest cube you can get out there in the market. These all cubes have a pretty common thing. These cubes out of the box feel extremely good, because these cube companies are pretty clever. They actually put some drops of factory lube inside the cube, and the cube just feels pretty good out of the box. But as much as you turn, the cube just becomes super crazy dry, and you would not feel that good feeling that you just got out of the cube, and the cube just eventually becomes sometimes pretty old, that you might say, whoa, why I just bought this cube? This is not good. Why people are writing so good reviews? Though just a few drops of any kind of lube can just do the work, but still it feels really bad that you also need to spend some money on lube. If you're buying some of the flagship cubes, there are high chances that you already have some lubes on your home. But if you're buying one of those budget cubes, you might not have lube, and when you're buying lube, you're just costing extra $2 to $3. I think this is pretty obvious, but you can get budget cubes in a pretty stupid condition. I did so many unboxings in my life, but I have suffered some of these problems. Some of the cubes just come with this pretty creepy box. As you can see, this box right here, this doesn't even fit perfectly. I also had got the Yushin Magic Square One box, which is probably one of the worst experience of getting any kind of cube box. What you can see right here, so you can understand the cube box was really stupid, and I could find also a spot on the cube. So this is one of the things which I really didn't like. You might say why most of the cube companies flagship cubes come with a really hi-fi box, but I think they at least need to just make at least this type of box and just wrap with tape, and so that your cube just becomes fully protective. I think also boxes like the YGM-GC5 box, this type of box should be added, because cubes need to be secure, because they need to come from China to my country, then to my country, and it need to come to my home. So I think cube box should be a little bit good, but in budget cube when a company is making budget cubes, they actually try to make the box as cheap as possible, because they don't want to spend any money on the box. The third problem of the budget cubes. Basically, budget cubes are not pretty crazy, because obviously they are not made to be flagship cubes, but they are not super duper good as you might expect from them. So you need to understand this point. Maybe for big cubes like 4x5 or 4x4, if you use a budget cube, maybe that's the reason why you're not getting good times, because these things actually catch a lot when you're turning, and if this thing catches like 20 times, it might be make you 20 seconds slower, which can be really not that good point. So I think that's a really bad point of budget cubes, but seriously, they're made not for targeting the speed cubers. So I think if you're focused for speed cubing, I think you should not buy budget cubes, because if you cost like $20 nowadays, you can buy really good cubes out there in the market. So there's also some good points why you should get a budget cube. If you're some of those guys who just aren't pretty sure that you're cubing in the future, so I think you guys should buy a budget cube. For example, if you buy a $70 can cube and then say, oh, I just don't like cubing, that's going to be pretty bad. So I think for you guys, you should actually buy first a budget cube. Then if you like that, I think then you should try some of the good flagship cubes. Or if you're some of those people who like to collect cubes and just casually solve them, I think budget cubes are pretty good, because they have pretty nice look, and they are going to be really good display piece for you guys. So that's it, that was all of this. Now you see GAN cubes are pretty expensive, but something is free, and that's subscribing to my channel. If 99% of you guys watch my videos without subscribing, so please subscribe, and thanks for 300 subscribers. And if you want to see why you should buy the YJMG255, go and watch it right there. And if you want to see my unboxing playlist, go and watch right there. This is Shahir watching Budget Rubik, and see you in the next one.